HOi4 is a game that has a lot of interesting nations to play. You've got the United States, you've got Germany, the Soviet Union. There's a lot of diversity of what you can pick. You can go from being a democracy, you can go from being communist. It's quite a wide range. There are a lot of fun nations to play, but there are also a lot of terrible nations to play. So I decided I wanted to try and figure out which one's the worst. What I'm going to do is essentially break them down individually into continents, decide what's the worst nation in each, and then we'll go on from there and then decide out of those options which is truly the worst. So let's get right into it. First on the list is Panama for North America. There were a few choices which I found a bit interesting, but I feel like Panama out of the lot is the worst, mainly due to the fact you can't form Central America. If you can see here, you can only do Gran Colombia, which is, to be fair, a good formable nation. Problem is, though, Colombia's a lot stronger than you are, so you're already sort of fighting an uphill battle. At least of all the other Central American states, you can form Central America. Obviously, Mexico, the US, and Canada, they've got their own focus trees. And if you're in the Caribbean, again, you can sort of unify your own things. You know, Haiti and Dominica, I think they can form the Hispaniola or whatever. So yeah, clearly out of the options, North America, Panama's the worst by far. You're against a much stronger power. Your country is sawn in half. So you're fighting an uphill battle for pretty much the whole game. Now for South America, it's quite obvious. I don't have Trials of Allegiance, so if there are any inaccuracies, then let me know. But I feel like the obvious one to pick, I feel like it's Paraguay. Now it's Paraguay or Uruguay, one of the two. Merely due to the fact they are not in a good position. Paraguay, you cannot form a formable nation, as far as I'm aware. You might be able to with Trials of Allegiance, so if you can, I'll have a little footnote in the video. Again, Uruguay is sort of a similar position. I feel like Uruguay might be a bit worse because you're against two sort of big powers in South America. Paraguay, less so. You've got Bolivia at least you can go into, but then again, you can't really form much. Uruguay, though, you've got a bit more going for you, I'd say, so you might have a bit more of a chance against Argentina or Brazil, but then again, it's not good. They aren't good nations to play, but at least it's South America, so shouldn't have too much trouble from the Allies or the Axis, at least the start of the game, when you're trying to make moves. So yeah, out of the two, I feel like I'm going to give it to Uruguay, given that, again, you're against two very strong South American powers, and there's not really much you can do, even if you do conquer them. So, onwards to Europe. Now, for Europe, it's quite obvious it's Luxembourg. You are, again, stuck between two great powers and Belgium, which is, well, a bit easier to defeat, but still not good. You don't have a lot going for you. You've got a few 100,000 men, not men, the population. So you're not going to have a lot in terms of manpower, as you can see here. Again, you've got the Germans to worry about, especially if you're playing historical, and if you've got non-historical, France might be an issue, and hell, it could even be both. You are really stuck in an extremely awkward position that you're just, it's not good for you at all. At least you're two provinces now in the state instead of one. That's the only improvement now, so you don't get capped if you lose one province, or and again, if you lose the civil one, you're not in a good situation. And at least you can form, United Netherlands. So again, at least you can form something. Unlikely to happen, but you know, if you're very skilled at the game, it might be an interesting challenge for you to do. At least you got a formable, which isn't the case for some of the other nations in the game. So now Africa. For Africa, it was quite obvious which one to boil down to, and immediately you've got Hausa. Yeah, forgot to name for a second, and Liberia. But I think it's clearly Liberia, mainly due to the fact with Hausa you get a focus tree. With Liberia, you don't. Like with Hausa, you can unify East Africa and whatnot, so there's something you can do. Liberia, you've got nothing, and what's worse is that you're stuck between two of the strongest powers in the game. So it's unlikely you're going to be able to actually do anything, which is the problem. So, again, horrid position to be in. So, now we'll move on to Asia. Now, I decided to combine Asia and Oceania into one because, again, there weren't many nations here, and Australia, New Zealand, at least they have focus trees, so they have something going for them. But I feel like the obvious, worst nation is Lebanon. I don't know why they added all the colonies in the Middle East for some reason, but then they obviously didn't bother with Egypt and whatnot. It was a bit of an odd decision from Paradox, and definitely one that's gotten criticism for the new DLC. There was a lot of things criticised by the new DLC. I picked Lebanon as the worst nation because, well, you can unite Arabia, but again, that is a very tall order. And if you look at your positioning, you're not a very good position at all. If you get independence from France, which is actually that difficult, I've played Syria, it isn't too bad. But the problem is that you are going to be stuck with Syria, so you're going to have to fight them, and then you're going to have to go through the Allies, or Britain. You might get lucky; they might get independent. Again, that's on historical. If you're playing on a historical game mode, you've got a massive challenge ahead of you. Again, at least you do get a formable nation, but you have to go against the Allies, the Axis, and whatnot just to form it, and it is a very tall order, and something very difficult to do, especially since you are forced to fight them. Again, akin to Liberia. So now, out of the lot, which are the worst? I feel like that is the ultimate question. I'm going to rule out Uruguay. Again, you can make moves, you can sort of do stuff, and the powers you're neighbouring aren't the strongest. They are definitely difficult, but brilliant. Same situation with Panama. You get a formidable nation. The powers you're up against, whilst stronger than you, they're still doable. It's not the end of the world. And again, Luxembourg, similar reasons. Belgium definitely very difficult, and I'd say Luxembourg's definitely worse than the other two. But again, it's you get a formidable nation at the least, so there's something out of it. So I feel like ultimately it boils down to Liberia and Lebanon out of those two. And I think I'm going to give it to Liberia, mainly due to the fact you don't get a formidable nation, but you still have to do the same things as you would with Lebanon. With Lebanon, there's something you can fight for. Liberia, there just isn't. Maybe you'll get lucky with some events from Ethiopia or something, but even then it's unlikely. The only thing about Lebanon that says difficult, you might have to go up against the Axis. But again, it depends how you do things, ultimately. But even then, again, at least there's something to work for, even if it is extremely unrealistic. So, Liberia, I'd say that's the worst nation in HOi4. If you disagree, let me know in the comments. Again, I'd like to hear your guys' opinion. So if this video gets, let's say, 50 likes, I'll play Liberia. I hope that's I'm not sure if it's unrealistic of a like goal or not. It depends how this video does. I haven't uploaded in a while, so my views might be less. Hopefully, I do get less than 50 because I don't want to play Liberia because that's gonna be a long day. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed. The Albania video is done. I've recorded it all. I just need to edit it, which has been difficult because I've been quite busy because I've got exams coming up, which I need to do well in. So that'll be out at some point. It might be a while, so just be patient. Anyway, I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.